My sister Megan never took off her fitness tracker. Not in the shower, not at night. She was one of those people for whom numbers are everything. Calories, steps, heart rate, sleep phases. Every morning she'd wake up, and the first thing she'd do was check the screen. How much deep sleep, how much REM, how many times she woke up. She kept a spreadsheet on her phone. A year and a half without a single gap. That's why she noticed. That's why I'm the one telling this story, not her. Megan was 31. She lived alone in a second-floor apartment in a quiet neighborhood in Des Moines, Iowa. Worked remotely, UI design. A calm life, a stable routine. Up at 7, morning run, work, evening yoga, asleep by 11. Like clockwork. Megan loved control. Loved knowing that each day was predictable. I lived in Chicago. We called each other once a week, sometimes more. A normal relationship. Close, but not overbearing. I knew about her work, she knew about mine. The standard rhythm of a brother and sister living in different cities. In March of 2023, Megan called me off schedule. Wednesday, 2 in the afternoon. She never called in the middle of a work day. Her voice sounded normal, not frightened, more like puzzled. Like someone who's seen something that doesn't fit their view of the world and is trying to decide whether to worry. She said, "My tracker is showing that I walked 12,000 steps last night, but I was asleep." 12,000 steps is roughly 8 or 9 kilometers. For an average person, an hour and a half to 2 hours of walking. The fitness tracker logged them between 2 and 4 a.m. 2 hours of activity. Her heart rate during that time elevated between 90 and 110 beats per minute. That's not sleep. That's movement. But Megan remembered going to bed, remembered setting her alarm, remembered waking up in the morning, in her own bed, under her own blanket, in her own pajamas. Nothing unusual, except the number on the screen. I told her what anyone would, a glitch in the tracker. The sensor mistook arm movements during sleep for steps. It happens. She agreed, laughed it off, hung up. The next morning, she sent me a screenshot. 12,000 steps again. Again between 2 and 4 a.m. Elevated heart rate again. I still thought a malfunction. 2 days in a row, the same error. Reset the tracker or replace it. She reset the settings, reinstalled the app, charged it to 100%. Third morning. 12,200 steps, 2:03 to 4:07 a.m. On the fourth day, Megan set up a camera, an old phone on the charger on her dresser, pointed at the bed, recording in time-lapse mode, 1 frame per second. She sent me the video the next morning. No commentary, just the video. I opened it. Bedroom, night mode. Megan lying in bed, blanket, pillow, nightstand. Everything normal. Timestamp, 1:58 a.m. Megan sits up. The movement is sharp, not the gradual way you wake up, stretching slowly. She sat up as if someone pressed a button, from horizontal to vertical, in 1 second. She's sitting on the edge of the bed, eyes open. I saw that and something went cold inside me. Eyes open, but the gaze empty. She was staring straight ahead at the wall, but she wasn't seeing the wall, as if she were looking through it. There was no expression on her face, none at all. Not calm, not confused, nothing. like the face of a mannequin. 10 seconds, motionless. Then she stood. Movements, smooth, confident, robotic. Not a single wasted gesture. She walked to the bedroom door, opened it, left. The camera captured an empty bed and an open door. 2 hours of empty room. An empty bed, a thrown-back blanket. Silence. Timestamp, 4:04 a.m. Megan walks back in. Same stride, even, mechanical. Lies down, pulls up the blanket, closes her eyes, as if nothing happened. As if a program had been completed and the device returned to standby mode. In the morning, she remembered nothing. I called her the same day, told her it was sleepwalking, nothing paranormal. People walk in their sleep. It's a documented condition. She needed to see a doctor. Maybe stress, maybe something neurological. She agreed, made an appointment with a neurologist. 3 weeks out, the healthcare system. In the meantime, she kept recording every night. Camera on the dresser, fitness tracker on her wrist. She wanted to show up to the doctor with data. 5th night. Same thing. 2 a.m., sat up, stood, left, returned at 4. 6th, the same. 7th, the same. But this time, Megan noticed something new. In the morning, she found her sneakers by the front door. They weren't where she usually kept them, not on the shoe rack, but right at the threshold, toes pointing toward the door. And they were dirty. Fresh, damp soil on the soles. Megan always put her shoes on the rack. Always. But at night, something inside her put on the sneakers, walked outside, came back, and placed them by the door. Not on the rack, by the door. As if the sleeping Megan knew she'd need them again. The next night, in her sleep, alone, at 2 in the morning, Megan did the thing I was afraid of. She opened the tracker app and found a feature she'd never used before. GPS route tracking. The tracker wasn't just logging steps, it was logging coordinates. She opened the map for the previous night and saw the route. A blue line on the city map. From her apartment, left down the street, 3 blocks, through the park, past the school, and to a point where the line turned into a tight cluster, the place where she stopped and stood for 2 hours. Then the same route back. She checked the previous nights. Every single one. The same route, meter for meter, the same point. Every night. Megan sent me a screenshot of the map. A blue line winding through the nighttime city, and a dense knot at the end. The place where she stood. I zoomed in. The coordinates led to a vacant lot on the edge of a residential area, a former construction site abandoned years ago. A chain-link fence, concrete slabs, overgrown bushes, a completely unremarkable place. I asked, "Do you know this place?" She said no. She'd never been there. She couldn't remember ever even driving past it. But every night, her body brought her there. Megan drove to the vacant lot during the day. I asked her not to go alone. She didn't listen. She rarely did. She sent me photos. An ordinary vacant lot, chain-link fence with holes, a concrete foundation of an unfinished building, bushes, trash, broken bottles. The kind of place you walk past and don't even notice. But one photo she captioned, "Look at the ground." In the center of the lot, Footprints. Sneaker prints. Dozens of them, layered on top of each other, going in different directions, but all the same size. Her size. All around a single point, as if she came here every night and paced in circles, or stood in one spot, shifting from foot to foot. And something else. In the center of that spot, the ground was disturbed. Not much, a few centimeters, as if something had been stirring beneath the surface. Not from above, from below, as if the earth were breathing. I flew to Des Moines 2 days later, dropped everything, bought a ticket, flew out. First thing, I drove to the vacant lot, alone. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The lot looked exactly like Megan's photos. Fence, concrete, bushes. The sneaker prints were still there, though the edges had started to soften from the wind. But the disturbed patch in the center, it had changed. In the 2 days between Megan's photos and my arrival, it had gotten bigger. Not wider, deeper. As if the ground kept sinking, or as if something beneath it kept moving. I crouched down and touched the dirt. Ordinary, cold, nothing strange. But when I pressed my palm flat and held it for a few seconds, I thought I felt a faint pulse, barely there, like a distant heartbeat pushing through meters of soil. I was imagining it. Probably. I stood up and drove to Megan's. She looked normal, tired, but she hadn't been sleeping well for almost 2 weeks. That was understandable. We sat in the kitchen. She showed me everything. Camera footage, 9 nights in a row, every one identical. 2 a.m., sat up, stood, left, returned at 4. Like a wound-up mechanism. GPS routes. Identical. The same path. The same point. Tracker data. 12,000 steps, give or take 200. Every night. I asked, "Have you tried locking the door with the chain, hiding the keys, wearing shoes that are hard to put on while asleep?" She nodded. She'd tried. The chain, she unhooked it in her sleep. The keys, she found them, even when she hid them somewhere new. Slip-on shoes, she put them on. As if the sleeping Megan knew everything the waking Megan knew, but did what the waking Megan would never do. That night I stayed at her place, sat in the kitchen, stayed awake. Bedroom door open. Camera running. 2:04 a.m. I heard the bed creak. I walked into the bedroom. Megan was sitting on the edge of the bed. Eyes open. Face motionless, relaxed, like a mask. She was looking straight at me, but she didn't see me. I stood in the doorway, and she looked through me like I was glass. She stood up, walked past me. I stepped aside. She went down the hallway, put on her sneakers, with precise, practiced movements, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. Took the keys from the shelf, opened the door. I followed her. She walked down the street. Even pace, steady tempo, not fast, not slow. Like a metronome. Eyes open, arms swaying slightly. From the outside, an ordinary woman walking somewhere at night. If you didn't know, you wouldn't suspect a thing. But I knew. And I walked 10 steps behind her and felt cold creeping up my spine. She never turned around, not once, as if I didn't exist. She followed the route I'd seen on the map, Left 3 blocks, through the park, past the school, exactly on the line. Step for step. 40 minutes later, we reached the vacant lot. She walked through the gap in the fence. I followed. The vacant lot at night looked different from the photos. The street lights from the road didn't reach here. The moon was behind clouds. Near total darkness. Megan walked to the center of the lot, to the exact spot where the footprints were, where the ground had been disturbed, and stopped. She stood there, just stood, arms at her sides, face tilted up toward the sky, eyes open, motionless, like a post. I stood 5 meters away and watched. I was afraid to touch her. I'd read that waking sleepwalkers can be dangerous. It can trigger a panic response. I was afraid of hurting her. But more than anything, I was afraid of what I was seeing. My sister, smart, rational, in control of every aspect of her life, standing in the middle of a vacant lot at 3 in the morning, staring at the sky, and not knowing it. She stood like that for 10 minutes, 15, 20, not moving. And while she stood there, I heard a sound, quiet, low, at the edge of perception. Not from above, from below, from under the ground, as if something far down was moving, stirring, waking up. And then, the ground around her feet began to sink, slowly, centimeter by centimeter, as if the soil beneath her was softening, or as if something under her was rising, displacing the earth. I shone the flashlight. The ground at her feet was caving in. Not a hole, just subsidence, but even, circular, with her at the center, as if something below was reaching for her, or as if the earth was accepting her. Slowly, night after night, 1 centimeter at a time. Then the sound stopped. The sinking stopped. Megan lowered her head, looked ahead with that same empty gaze, turned around, and walked back. I followed her home. She lay down, pulled up the blanket, closed her eyes. I sat in the kitchen until morning. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. In the morning, I told her everything. Showed her the video I'd recorded on my phone. She watched herself, standing motionless in the middle of a vacant lot at 3 a.m., face to the sky, and didn't recognize herself, as if it were a different woman. She cried. For the first time through all of this, she cried. Not from fear, from helplessness. She couldn't control her own body. Every night something took her and led her there, and she couldn't stop it. I said, "We're going to the doctor today. Emergency care. Forget the 3-week wait." We went to the hospital. MRI, blood work, neurologist consult. Results? Normal. Everything normal. Brain, blood, hormones. The neurologist said parasomnia, prescribed sleeping pills, and recommended locking the door with a key and giving the key to someone else. There was no one else to give it to. She lived alone. I stayed 5 more days. Every night I locked the front door and hid the key in my pocket. Every night at 2 a.m. she got up, walked to the door, pulled the handle. The door wouldn't open, And then she did something that still gives me nightmares. She stood, facing the locked door, motionless, arms at her sides, eyes open, and stood there until 4 a.m. 2 hours without moving. I sat in the kitchen and could see her in the hallway, a silhouette in the dark, facing the door, absolutely still, like a statue. I'd walk up and look at her face, the same blank expression, eyes open, but no one inside. One time, on the third night, I noticed her lips moving, silently, as if she was saying something or repeating something. I leaned in closer, trying to hear. Nothing. Not a sound. Just her lips moving. The same sequence of movements, over and over, as if she were repeating one word or phrase. I never figured out what it was. As if she were waiting. As if she knew. The door would open eventually. The tracker on those nights showed 0 steps, but her heart rate, 110. As if her body was desperate to walk, but her legs couldn't move. I flew back on Monday. Work, obligations. I couldn't stay forever. We agreed she'd lock the door with a heavy chain that would be hard to open in her sleep, and she'd call me every morning. First 3 days, she called. The chain held. She woke up at the door, but didn't get out. Steps, 0. Heart rate, 110. 4th day. She called and said something strange. She'd gone to the vacant lot during the day. The spot where the footprints and the sinking had been looked different. The subsidence was deeper, noticeably deeper, overnight. Even though she hadn't gone out, the chain was still on. No one had been there. The ground was sinking on its own, every night, as if whatever was below kept rising, slowly, night after night, closer to the surface. 5th day. She didn't call. I waited until noon, called her myself. The phone rang, but she didn't pick up. I called again, and again, texted. No answer. I called the Des Moines police and asked them to check the apartment. Police entered the apartment 2 hours later. The door was open, the chain unhooked, keys on the shelf. Megan was not in the apartment. The bed, made. Phone, on the nightstand. Clothes, in the closet. Sneakers, by the door. Clean. She left barefoot. Without her phone, without her keys, without shoes. I flew to Des Moines that same evening, drove to the vacant mart. I knew she'd be there. I felt it. The lot was empty. No one. And here's what took my sleep away for the months that followed. The spot where there had been footprints, subsidence, disturbed soil, was flat. Completely flat. As if nothing had ever been there. No sneaker prints, no sinking, no disturbed patch. Smooth, packed earth. As if someone had leveled it. Or as if the ground had closed. But on that flat earth, precisely in the center of where the subsidence used to be, lay the tracker. Megan's fitness tracker. Black strap, small screen. It lay on the ground, strap facing up, as if someone had carefully placed it there rather than dropped it. Unclasped, removed. As if she'd taken it off herself before, what? Leaving? Or before the earth took her, and closed back up. The screen was on. I picked it up. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Last recorded activity: 14,000 steps. More than usual. Time: 2:02 to 4:31 a.m. Longer than usual. As if on that final night she walked farther, or longer, or did something she hadn't done before. Heart rate: 130 at the start of the route. High. Higher than any previous night. Then 110. Then 90. Then 70. 60. 45. At the 4-hour, 31-minute mark, heart rate 0. I stood over the flat ground and stared at the tracker screen. 0. The last number the sensor recorded before the strap was unfastened. The GPS route showed the same path. From the apartment, through the park, past the school, to the vacant lot. The blue line ended on the flat ground where the tracker lay. And it didn't continue. As if the person who'd been walking simply ceased to exist. Megan was never found. Police searched the vacant lot, dug up the spot where the tracker was found. 2 meters deep. Nothing. Ordinary soil. No cavities. No traces. No objects. Solid ground. As if there had never been anything beneath that spot. But if there was nothing, why did the ground sink every night? Where did the footprints go? And where did Megan go? The case was classified as an unexplained disappearance. It remains open to this day. I took her tracker. Police extracted all the data and returned it to me as a personal belonging. It sits in my desk drawer, powered off, dead battery. But sometimes, at night, I open the drawer and check. Because twice in the past 6 months, twice, I've pulled it out in the morning and seen numbers on the screen. A tracker I never charged, sitting in a drawer, not strapped to anyone's wrist, showing steps. A small number, not 12,000. 50, 70, as if someone walked from one room to another. I live alone. I've checked the cameras. I don't walk in my sleep. But the tracker counts steps in my closed drawer at night. And every time, the number is a little higher than the last. 50, 70, 120, 200. As if something is walking. As if something is learning to walk. Or as if someone who shouldn't be here is going a little farther each night than the night before. I don't know what's wearing my sister's tracker. I don't know whose steps it's counting. But I know the numbers are growing. And I try not to think about what happens when they stop. That's the story. But before you close your eyes tonight, ask yourself one thing. How do you know you stay in bed?